Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Zoom for the Pitt Upper Class Housing Selection presentation. My name is Adam Johnson, and I work in the Housing Department as one of the assignments and leasing coordinators here at the university. I would like to note that I am also accompanied by my colleagues Corey and Jenna this evening. You may see them respond to your message in the Q&A. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can feel free to use the Q&A feature. They will be monitoring that during the presentation, and we will also have Corey and Jenna facilitating some questions here at the end of this evening's presentation. So I'm excited to go ahead and start speaking to you all about our upper class housing process and hopefully help you guide you through the process. During this presentation, we will be going over our housing application process for upper class students. We will touch on some important dates and deadlines for you to keep in mind during this process. We will also be discussing various housing options that we have and be reviewing the different group sizes that they accommodate. We'll also touch on lottery numbers, our point system, submitting a suite and apartment style bid, retention, and the housing selection process. We're happy to answer as many questions as we can during this time. I would also like to note, while we are on the topic of questions, during this presentation, we will encourage everyone to utilize the Q&A feature to ask any questions that they may have. I would like to note, however, that we will try to stick to answering more general questions about the process, and would like to note that if you have specific questions or specific questions about your situation, we would encourage you to visit one of our upcoming tabling events to discuss your specific situation. So we will be discussing the application and deadlines, lottery numbers and points. We will have the building overview. We will speak about submitting a suite bid. We will go over the retention process for upper class students. We will go over general room selection and then discuss some resources that are available. So some key terms that I want to touch on here as we begin the presentation. A guarantee. So all housing guarantees are pending the completion of a 2024-2025 housing application and are dependent on how students were admitted to the university as first-year students. Prospective freshmen who were admitted through admissions and financial aid for the fall term paid their $300 enrollment fee and their $325 housing deposit by their designated due dates, were guaranteed on-campus housing. The guarantee is then good for 3 years, provided that all housing application and deposit deadlines for each subsequent year are then met. To keep your housing guarantee valid for the next year, which would be the 2024-2025 academic year, you must meet the housing application process deadline of February 1st, 2024. Next is lottery numbers. So lottery numbers are randomly generated numbers that range from 1 to around 7,700. Students will be sent their lottery number to their Pitt email account, and this will happen later on in December. Going along with our lottery number is the point system that the university uses, which prioritizes groups. So rising juniors will receive 3 points. Rising sophomores will receive 2 points, which that means basically that a group of all rising juniors will receive priority during the housing process, followed by mixed groups of rising juniors and rising sophomores, and lastly, followed by groups of rising sophomores. So an example of this that I have here is a group of 4 rising juniors with a lottery number of 7,000 would automatically win over a group of 4 rising sophomores with a lottery of 1,000 due to that point system that we just discussed. Next, we will go over retention. So to retain your current suite or apartment, at least 50% of the current residents must return for the fall term 2024. All students must be guaranteed upper class students. And if you currently live in a space such as a single in Lothrop, a single in Tower C, or a double in Panther Hall, you will not need to complete the retention form. You will instead be sent email correspondence from the housing department if you live in one of these spaces. and the space is able to be retained for the 2024-2025 academic year. You would then be able to log onto the housing portal on retention day to retain your space. And we would like to please note that it is not applicable for first-year students who are assigned in first-year only buildings. Next, we will touch on general room selection. So general room selection is for all guaranteed upper class students who are interested in selecting a general room on campus, or any guaranteed upper class student who did not win a suite or apartment style bid. Next, we're going to go over the lottery numbers. So what is a lottery/housing number selection number? So a lottery number is a randomly generated number between 1 and 7,700. 1 would be the best, 7,700 in that case would be the worst. Lottery numbers are given to all guaranteed rising sophomores and juniors. For suite bids, the best lottery number of the group will be automatically used. For general room selection, the lottery number is used to designate the day and time that you are able to log on to the housing portal to select your housing. And I would like to note that if you are a guaranteed student with a lottery number, that means you are guaranteed a space on campus. So I got my lottery number, now what? So step number 1 would be to pay your housing deposit, which would be a deposit of $325. Step number 2 would be to complete your housing application, which is due by February 1st, 2024. Step number 3 would be to choose your own adventure. So we have a few different things that we'll talk about here. You can choose to submit a suite or apartment style bid form with your friends. You can fill out a supplemental LLC or living learning community application if you're interested in joining an LLC. You can choose to go through general room selection if you're interested in a single or a double room. You can apply to be a resident assistant or an RA, or you could go and pledge through Greek Life if you're interested in living on campus in one of our Greek Life accommodations. Next, we'll talk about some important dates and deadlines to remember during this process. So December 2023 is when lottery numbers will be issued to students and the housing application will go live. February 1st, 2024, the deadline to apply for guaranteed housing, and also the deadline for the supplemental LLC or living learning community deadline. In early February is the suite bid deadline. Mid-February, suite bid winners will be posted. In March, suite and apartment style selection will occur, followed by general room selection. And then April 15th, 2024 is the deadline to terminate your housing application for any reason, and you would then receive your $325 housing deposit back as long as we receive it by April 15th of 2024. Next, we will talk about the building overview. So we are in the process of actively updating our housing website to reflect this information. If you visited our housing website, you will have seen some changes just within the last few days of some information and photos, but we are still working on that process. So just would like to note that here. But here on this slide, you will see 3 different categories, if you will. I would like to note that all spaces in our apartment style accommodations all offer full kitchens, which means that a meal plan is not required. You, of course, have the opportunity to purchase a meal plan if you would like, but it is not required. They also would include a living and or dining space, along with a private or semi-private bathroom for the accommodation. So in our apartment style accommodations, we have bouquet gardens, which would accommodate groups of 2, 3, and 4. We have Center Plaza, which accommodates groups size 1, 3, and 4. We have Forbes Craig Apartments, which accommodates groups of 1, 2, and 3. Ruskin Hall Apartments, which accommodates groups of 1, 2, and 3. Oakwood Apartments, which accommodates groups of 2 and 3. The Strand, which is actually going to be a new building for on-campus housing this upcoming 24-25 school year. will accommodate groups of 3, and you will see more information on our building page shortly. As I mentioned earlier, we are in the process of updating all of that information. And then last year, or this year, I should say, is the first year we offered housing in the Bridge on Forbes, which accommodates groups of 3. And I would like to note that this is a 12-month or 3-term contract. So it would be for the fall, spring, and summer terms. Moving on to our suite style accommodations, we have Panther Hall, which accommodates groups of 3 and 5 students. McCormick Hall, which accommodates groups of 2, 3, 6, and 7. And then moving on lastly to our general room accommodations, which are Lothrop Hall, which is comprised of singles and doubles. Panther Hall, which is comprised of doubles. Tower C, which is comprised of singles, and University Hall, which is comprised of singles and doubles. All right, now moving on to retention. So retention is, we already talked about this process, but the buildings and communities that are available for retention are listed below here. So the following buildings would be available for retention: Bouquet Gardens, Center Plaza, Ruskin Hall, Oakwood, Panther Hall, Lothrop Hall, Tower C, and McCormick Hall. And I would like to note that at least 50% of the current residents must retain in the space. Current residents are also responsible for filling other vacancies with other guaranteed upper class students. And the retention form must be completed by February of 2024. Next, we will be talking about suite and apartment style bid process. So step 1 would be to first designate your group size. The groups can be anywhere from 1 to 7 members. Step 2 would be to designate one student as the group leader. The group leader would then initiate the bid process and invite all the other group members. All members of the group must be guaranteed upper class students with a completed housing application by February 1st, 2024. Then the group members would need to accept that invitation. At that point, the bid is complete. There is nothing more you need to do at that point. They would all get submitted to housing, and housing would sort through those bids using the points and lottery number system that we spoke on earlier. We would then post the suite and apartment style bids in mid-February of 2024. And then the winners would be able to choose their own housing through the housing portal in early March. I would like to note that if your group does not win a suite or apartment style bid, or your group does win a suite or apartment style bid and chooses not to select during the suite and apartment style selection, you are able to select an accommodation during general room selection. At this time, I'd like to note and take a moment to discuss a question that we get here a lot during this time of the year in housing. And the question normally goes something like, what are my chances of getting a certain space on campus or a certain building on campus? And truthfully, it is impossible to predict these odds, as lottery numbers are randomly generated, like we spoke about earlier. And we do not know which students will receive which lottery number or how these individual groups will form. Keep in mind that approximately 40% of our students will decide to live off campus, become a resident assistant, or join Greek life. That means that your lottery number of 7,000 could become a lottery number of more like 2,800. And I do encourage all students to apply by the February 1st deadline and go through the housing process. Keep in mind that you are able to terminate your housing application and receive your $325 housing deposit back as long as you terminate your housing by April 15th of 2024. However, if you do fail to complete your housing application by February 1st, 2024, your housing guarantee will no longer be active, and it is not able to be reinstated if your off-campus plans fall through. So next, what is general room selection? So general room selection is for all guaranteed upper class students who are interested in selecting a general room, or a guaranteed upper class student who did not win a suite bid. This includes spaces that are left over from suite and apartment style accommodation selection, plus general rooms such as singles and doubles. Rising juniors select mid-March based off of lottery number, and rising sophomores will select at the end of March based off of lottery number. Next, we will talk about other on-campus communities and opportunities. So upper class living learning communities. We have several on-campus living learning communities here at the University of Pittsburgh. And you would need to complete a supplemental application during the application process by February 1st of 2024 if you're interested in joining one of those LLCs. We also have Greek life here on campus, both fraternities and sororities that live on campus here. So if you're interested, you can always pledge to live with those folks on campus. Or if you are interested in becoming a resident assistant or RA, you can definitely follow that process and complete those applications. So we have several upcoming events in January, and we will be located in the Litchfield Towers lobby or the Sutherland Hall lobby. We will have several tabling and information sessions during those times where students can come up and discuss any questions they have about their situation, or if they need any help or guidance through the process. We're happy to go over that at that time. So please keep an eye on your Pitt email as you will be getting some more information as those dates approach. Or you can always visit the housing website for more information. There's a tab that says important dates and deadlines, and those tabling and information sessions are listed for you there for your reference. And here are some of the resources that we have. So as I spoke on earlier, we have our housing services website that has a great deal of information for students to refer to. It has all of our buildings. It has photos that are listed there. We're really working on updating those this year, as I spoke on earlier. We also have Panther Central, who is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are happy to answer any questions you may have, help you through the application process. And if they are unable to answer your question, they will refer you to myself, Jenna, or Corey, so that we can set up a time to meet or address your question on a one-on-one basis. We also have the LLC, the Honors LLC. If you have any questions about the Honors LLC, please refer directly to the Honors College. Any other LLC questions, please refer to Residence Life directly. And then, like I spoke on earlier, any building application or process questions, Panther Central is also happy to assist with. And then we have lots of upcoming events. Like I said, if you visit our housing services website and view that important dates and deadlines tab, there are lots of events for students to attend and get lots of information and answer any questions. So once again, I'd like to thank you for taking some time while I go over these slides with you folks. At this time, we are going to open it up to a question and answer. You can continue to put your Q&As in the Q&A feature, and Jenna and Corey will begin facilitating some of those here.
All right, Adam, we have a question for you. We'll start off with lottery numbers and questions that have to deal with lottery numbers. So, do I need to pay my deposit to see my lottery number? And when will I find out what my lottery number is?
All right, so no, you do not need to pay your deposit to find out your lottery number. You will get your lottery number in December. It will come via your Pitt email. And then once you receive your housing lottery number, you are able to begin the housing process once the application goes live in December.
Now, some questions regarding bids. So, am I able to submit more than one bid?
No, you are not. Only one bid is permitted.
Great. And am I able to complete a retention form and also a suite bid? Or do I only have the option to complete one or the other?
You would only be able to choose one or the other. Retention begins before an apartment or suite style bid. So if you are looking to retain your space, you would need to complete that prior to the suite and apartment style bid, which would make you ineligible for participating.
As far as groups, who should be the group leader? Is it dependent on the lottery number?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get that a lot. It does not depend on the lottery number. So we suggest that the most responsible or organized student become the group leader because they're kind of the student that will be initiating the process, sending out those invites to start. The best lottery number of the group will be automatically used. So it does not need to necessarily be the student with the best lottery number.
Great. If possible, this is for you. Can you go back to the slide with the building options? We have some
Yeah.
building questions. Are there only two options for four-person groups at this time? And if we don't get in one of those two options, does it force us to split?
Yes. So there would only be one option, which would be bouquet gardens. And yes, you would need to split the group if you are, you know, if you are looking for, I guess what was the question about splitting the group?
Okay, well, Center Plaza is also an option.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So Bouquet and Center Plaza, and then if we don't win a bid for one of those spaces, does it force us to split and then go through general room selection?
Okay. Yeah. If you do not win a suite or apartment style bid, you would go through general room selection. In general room selection, there is the opportunity to potentially pull in a friend if there are multiple vacancies in a space, as it is whatever is left over from suite and apartment style accommodations. But it is not guaranteed that you will be able to live with a requested roommate if you go through general room selection.
So someone is asking if they can apply for suite and apartment style, but not have any roommates in mind. Can they get assigned random roommates, or do they have to go through general room selection to have random roommates?
Correct. You would need to go through general room selection in order to be assigned random roommates. If you participate in suite or apartment style bids, you will form your group, and then that will be the size bid that you will submit. So if it's you and two friends, your group size will be three. You will only be able to select spaces that accommodate three students if you win that bid. So you would need to go through general room selection. And if you're looking for random roommates, I guess, if that's what the question is.
Someone is asking, no, this is particular to groups of three, but I think it is important to note if some of our spaces have single bedrooms or shared bedrooms.
Mhm.
Do we have spaces that have three separate rooms or separate bedrooms in general?
Yes. Yep. So Bouquet Gardens has private bedrooms for both three and four. And there are options in Center Plaza that accommodate three singles, not all option or not all spaces in Center Plaza that are groups of three have the private bedroom, but apartments does offer private bedrooms as well as Bridge on Forbes and the Strand. The Strand, obviously, like I spoke on, is new this year, so we'll be updating that information on the website. And Bridge on Forbes would be that 3-term contract if you're interested in that.
Someone is asking, what are the Honors College LLC building options at this time?
Sure. So for this year, the Honors LLC is housed both in University Hall and in Forbes Craig Apartments. That is the plan for next year, as far as I'm aware. So those are the two locations where the Honors LLC is housed for upper class students.
Can you go over again how the points work and how many points a sophomore is worth and how much a junior is worth?
Yeah. So rising juniors will receive 3 points and rising sophomores will receive 2 points. So groups of all juniors would win over any other group, followed by mixed groups of rising juniors and rising sophomores. Lastly, followed by groups of all sophomores. So the reason we do that is it is juniors' last year to live on campus, so that kind of gives them priority to choose a space where they would like to live for their last year on campus.
This is not a question. I'm just reiterating that the housing application is not currently live. So once it is live, we will send out an email so that you are able to pay your deposit and complete your application. We're just getting some questions about where they can find the housing application at this time, and it's just not live yet. Can you apply to be an RA, but still put in a suite bid?
Yes, so you are able to do that. And if you go through the RA application and you are accepted, Res Life will let us know here in the housing department that you were accepted to be an RA and give us your placement. So at that point, we would then pull you out of your accommodation that you had selected previously and place you into an RA accommodation. As far as that vacancy goes for your friends, if your friends know another guaranteed upper class student that they would like to live with, they have the opportunity to potentially pull that student in. If not, the university will be happy to fill that space for you.
There are a couple questions about if Irvis is going to be an option for housing next year for upper class students.
Yeah, great question. So Irvis at this time is not going to be an upper class building at this time for the 24-25 school year. It is our plan to make that into a first year building. So it will not be able for students to retain that space, or it will not be up for a selection.
I think you've touched on a lot of the questions that are common questions. I would say if you want to close it out, but then leave this up and we'll keep answering a couple questions in the chat for about 5 more minutes. So if somebody has a question, they can type it there, but I think the general questions have pretty much been answered.
Okay, great. Well, once again, thank you everyone for joining this evening. I appreciate you taking some time out of your evening to sit through this presentation. I've been happy to answer your questions. Like Jenna said, we'll stay on for a few more minutes here and answer questions through the chat. Otherwise, please visit us here at Panther Central or one of our tabling events if you have any more specific questions. You can also chat with us on the Panther Central website or submit a ticket there, and we would be happy to address any further questions you have if they're more specific or specific to your situation. So once again, thanks for joining. Good luck on your finals and enjoy your winter break, and we'll see you back here soon.